finally seen Anthem, BioWare's new IP.
Out of the gate with Anthem.
Number 5, because I still don't feel like I know what to expect from that. I'll be honest, I saw Microsoft's trailer and I was not interested at all.
Really? Just
not
the art
Microsoft,
style,
sorry,
or
not
what?
Microsoft. When they showed it at EA, and it was just very brief and looked very generic. Not like BioWare. And then I was happy I actually saw gameplay, because then I was like, ooh, jetpacks, and I just kind of liked... I know, it's got that Destiny vibe that people are obviously comparing it to, but think about that a little bit. But if BioWare can do, they've promised what they've delivered with character and story, so I'd be interested to see where they can go in a different world. I feel like they've been tied to Mass Effect and tied in Dragon Age, and I think it's good for them to kind of break off and try a new IP, no strings attached, can do what they want. The only, like I said, troubling part is that there are so many comparisons to other games out there looking at it. Like, it doesn't look like unique BioWare. I think people were saying other games too, though, with it.
It's tough when you have that kind of like worn down, a little bit Star Wars take on kind of a more fantasy sci-fi.
Titanfall too, people were saying.
Well, there was that moment in the gameplay where like the co-op buddy like dropped down, basically like
there's some Titanfall, some Destiny, So I was just excited to see it. I mean, we've been hearing about this IP for so long, and this was our first look at it.
It definitely feels like a big departure from what they've done before in terms of... I mean, I feel like they've been slowly building up to it, right? Like they were very RPG focused, and then over the years they've sort of gone in this more action oriented direction, and this is sort of just dropping the premise of just we're not really an RPG. There's experience and stuff, you know, like every game has basically, but we're basically a shooter now. And
I'm sure the rest of that marketing campaign is going to be like, don't worry, guys, we've got your classic BioWare characters here ready to go, but it's E3, they have to get out of the gate with action, crazy storm sequence and stuff like that. But what did you make of that split between first person to third person, where it kicks off and it felt like a real, I don't know if it's a, you know, subtle nod to Mass Effect Andromeda's complaints, but it's like, hey, look at this, just full facial animation, just crazy, could not be closer to the camera. Look at the
wrinkles on the side of his mouth.
We put time into this one, guys, for
real. It looked good. You know, who knows how it'll actually look when the game ships. But then during the like action gameplay, then it switched to third person. So I'm very curious to see how similar the finished game looks when you're walking around talking to people, getting quests in that, in theory, hub area.
I feel it'll be mostly third person. I think that
So why would they get out of the gate like that?
At first, I like to like you said, to show off the facial animation.
To put people in the game better or something?
I think
that's a stylistic choice.
I think that's more of a flair thing. I think it could be
That'd
in the game.
A misleading bit of flair, man.
I mean, trailers are misleading all the time.
Maybe it's going to be like the opposite of Blizzard's Titan, because wasn't that third person than the first person when you went out on missions, you know, the rumored MMO and all that nonsense?
Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that first person thing. But
that's what I like about it still so far. Is it's such a wild card that even though we've just seen some gameplay, I still have no idea what to make of it, but that I think it looks cool. And I'm eager, like I said, to find out more as soon as they start dropping more details. Now, I hope this isn't one of those cases, because we've had this with BioWare, where they show a trailer and it's very little and we don't get anything else for a long time. And even the next drips we get don't even give us much information. So I'm hoping it's not that long of a wait. They didn't put a release date on that, right?
God, I don't think
they did. I think it was just, this is the first gameplay. So
yeah.
I hope we don't have to wait too long, and I also hope that we get some more clarification on exactly what this game is, what they're going for, because there's only so much I could gather from that trailer except jetpacks.
Well, jetpacks, you got the hot words. I love learning, like, okay, what are going to be the words that are going to be very commonplace years from now when this game comes out, and in theory it's going to be more of like a game as a service. But, okay, so you're called a freelancer, right? So you can name your character anything you want in theory, and then all the NPCs can be like, yo, freelancer, over here, so that's good. And then we have javelins. Those are the mechs, right? You got the unique, or the exosuits technically, right? And then scars are the enemies, at least like the first enemy we saw.
Yeah, that's right.
What did you guys think of that storm at the end? Do you think that's going to be like a portal to bring you to different locations, or was that just a one-off set piece thing?
I think set piece thing. Just a cool thing to interact with in the environment.
But what happens when they go inside of it then?
It's just hard to see. It's like Gears of War 4. It's raining. Just a storm is happening.
But the whole thing is like, we gotta go in it. Gears of War 4 wasn't like, we're going into the center of the tornado.
That's when they show off their cool like windshield wiper tech.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like Metroid Prime, you know, like, you can see Samus's face.
That's what they're going for this time?
Yeah, it's like they really want to show off that tech. You know, the facial animations.
They're really just, you gotta look, please look at these faces. We've worked extra hard on these faces.
One thing I'm kind of worried about watching that footage, and overall I thought it looked pretty good. I'm excited to see more, but I don't know if you read Kotaku to write up about Mass Effect Andromeda recently and what went wrong. And one of the things that they called out in that is they said that they're working with the Frostbite engine, which is what this is as well. It is not great at building large environments, and they made a point in this to be like, it's huge open worlds you can explore with your friends. And so the idea of pushing Frostbite to its limits again, you know, it's the Edmonton studio instead of Montreal. Maybe there's some more tech expertise over there. It's tough to say exactly. You know, other studios are helping out with this as well, but that is a big concern again. Is like my biggest complaint about Andromeda was like, it's too big. It just can't handle. It's spread too thin. It's shaky.
Everyone's kind of, after Dragon Age and Mass Effect. A lot of people are like, well, guys don't really need to do open worlds.
And so to push it out of the gate again in the first gameplay, it's like, oh,
back at it again. We're going to make all this landmass. You're not gonna explore much of it. And it's gonna be kind of boring. But I don't know. Like a lot, it looks a lot more dense than a lot of.
I mean, it looked better than anything else we've saw, like with Andromeda and even like Inquisition.
For sure.
So. I don't know. A lot of people have been working on this since the end of Mass Effect 3, the team that's been working on it. So maybe they have something that they know that they didn't share with the Andromeda team or something.
We're withholding
a face tech.
Like, I'm going to show, like, we know what we're doing.
So you're saying
we've
Mass
got
Effect,
faces figured out. It's fine.
Mass Effect Andromeda was there to set the stage for people to appreciate Anthem more? Is what you're saying?
How
Are
dare
you
you? The
forwarding
BioWare
conspiracy
conspiracy.
No,
I didn't
I'm just
say it,
saying
per se.
that team might have a little more expertise with this.
As far as the release date goes, I remember in an interview that was in the podcast format, but it wasn't on the podcast technically, I guess, but it was with the general manager of BioWare, Aaron Flynn, and he said that the game was more done than you would expect. So maybe next year.
Available tomorrow.
Yeah, who knows?
Free to play.
Well, here's what I say. I hope they learn something with Andromeda, which is maybe we always say this with take your time with Dragon Age 2. I feel like they took their time with Inquisition in a way that they needed to. But looking at back in Andromeda, like that game still has. I didn't finish Andromeda yet because I just keep hearing all these updates are going to roll out. That's going to make that experience at least a little bit better.
Hey, Kim, I don't think any updates really going to turn that game around.
It
is what it is. There's good stuff buried in there.
The condition that are launched in, to me, like with my hair couldn't even animate right on my avatar, which drove me nuts every scene. It took me out of it. Like that stuff needs to be like fixed. Like that shouldn't have been shipped.
There's the option just to wear your helmet.
It's good now.
That's the fix.
Yeah, just put the helmet on.
Patch
the
now
time.
just
Hair
keeps the
is
helmet
very
on your head.
like-
Oh, totally.
Sure. Also, really got to give it up. I love a good, simple name. Anthem, I think, is a super strong name.
I was not
as
expecting
Ben
that.
Reese has been saying, Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean,
we
did I say Anthem? I'm sorry, I meant Anaheim.
Yeah.
Well, we laugh about it, but now that has been like that seed has been planted in my head where I do pause and call it Anaheim.
Also, yeah, I think you could there's a NPC faction called Anthem Angels, just to further confuse you once the game actually comes out.
Oh, they're great. They're so good. They're very good at baseball.
All right, Hot Shot. Great one. I'm so glad that came up, Kim. It seemed like Joe is more of a skeptic. I'm excited to get him on the podcast.
I was actually more
it.
excited about it, I think, than he was. He was right away was like, I don't see what makes this different or interesting from other games. So
again, it's out of the gate action.
Yeah.
You know, even like Mass Effect 3's E3 press conference, like I think they showed the intro sequence. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, they did the outside air, like when you're on Earth in the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like that's not the core of what makes Mass Effect 3 great. Is awkwardly sliding down a dumb roof.
Right.
You know. Suriel, number 5.
My number 5 was Anaheim by BioWare Entertainment. No, it was Anthem. But one thing to talk about real quick is I'm curious to see what they do with the gear. Because in that demo, they showed off like, oh, I've got Jared's Wrath. And the guy was like, oh, nice. In the most fake possible, fake
That's
online chat, which is my favorite trend in trailers. Don't stop doing it.
I haven't gotten that cave yet.
It's like not the serious, like, you know, when I play Destiny, we were talking about like sports and like just random people. It's like, oh, my daughter woke up. I got to go I gotta go. we gotta.
Oh my God,
we gotta
I
come
want
back in like
that.
5 minutes, and everyone just sit around and check your phones.
I want that at an E3 press conference where it's like, all right, let's do this mission. Oh, wait, hold on, my daughter's crying. And then there's just like 45 seconds of them waiting.
And then cut to an audience shot of everyone just checking their phones. It's the exact same
amazing.
expressions.
Is he
'cause
gonna
no
be
one
back?
ever cares.
Because like I gotta go do this. But no, like the gear stuff. Just I think they're
Hang on, sorry. Was that not a joke? Your number 5 is actually also Anthem?
Yeah, Anaheim. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I thought they were just going for a punchline, but the gear and the loot specifically.
Yeah, so I mean, they're very much hinting at like we want the Destiny thing of we want you to have these specific stories around this gear, and I'm wondering because I've never felt super attached to any piece of gear in a BioWare game that I've ever had. It just feels like always stat based. So I'm curious to see how they sort of use exotics, for example, and say like how crazy are the guns going to get here, and how much of a draw that's going to be. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, to build this game up, I think Destiny has proven how much of a development learning curve it is for a studio to be like, oh, we're just going to embrace loot and exploration and like long-term RPG mechanics.
Yeah.
Like it has been years of hell for everybody at Bungie to try and get it somewhat sustainable.
And other studios. There's just a lot of studios who see something successful and they're like, we want to do that, and then they can't do it as well as like even someone who everyone says like they didn't do it that well to start, and then like some people just never get it right. Bungie has.
Yeah, for sure.